You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we have another 100 special for you. 3 matches on this occasion. We've got Birmingham, Phoenix v Southern Brave, feeling the need for Smeed, as everyone has been saying. Ross thought that was so original when he tweeted it out. I've seen that headline in 5 locations. And then yesterday at the Oval, we had Oval Invincibles v Northern Supercharges. Men's game was a lot of fun before the women took over, and the Oval Invincibles women annihilated the Northern Superchargers. Although it was kind of an annihilation. It was a record chase, but it felt like an annihilation when you were there. I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Max Rowe Brown in a yellow t-shirt and a blurred background. What are you hiding, Max?
Hiding the crackdown, aren't I? We've been here before. I've still not decorated this room, so I'm just going to blur it out until I have done. It's easier that way.
Another few years.
Yeah.
And downstairs on my screen, but you know, it could be anywhere when you look at this video, is Cameron Ponsonby. How are you doing, Cameron?
I'm very well, thank you. That was the best pronunciation yet.
Yeah,
that was actually spot on.
Yeah, I think we did have like a 5-minute conversation to kick off our last podcast together about how to say your name.
What a treat.
So I I learn. It's a slow process, but we've got to be halfway through our 10,000 hours of podcasting now. So
absolutely.
Right, Max, what are the messages for the listeners?
Like and subscribe to this video if you're watching on YouTube. Head over to Instagram or Twitter or both. Why not both? At the Cricket Pod and TikTok. Have we changed our username yet?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Ross made us a TikTok, but our username is like user 16754392158.74.
That's catchy. That.
Yeah.
Not anymore. It's the Cricket Podcast.
It's the Cricket Pod now.
Pod.
Okay, it's been fixed, but there's a little peek behind the curtain for you and our how down the kids we are at trying to make TikTok and then fucking it up. Yeah. And patreon.com/the Cricket Pod to support us directly. We've got some exclusive shows, Discord, IPL data, which we'll be updating soon, and all loads of goodies. So from as little as £4 a month.
Yes. And Max, you've forgotten our main sponsor for the show, manscaped.com. Use the code CricketPod for 20% off and free worldwide shipping. We'll get Max to tell another humorous ball anecdote at some point later.
I'm running out
in the podcast. Well, you've probably got 15 minutes to think about it. Yeah. Let's do Birmingham v Southern Brave first. We sent out a man on the ground, Ross Legg, but he didn't turn up for this podcast. We can't ask him about what it was like to be there. Max, you watched it from home. Can you give us a summary?
I can, yeah. So essentially, what happened, Jack, is Will Smeed.
Yes,
and then it was over. He hit the first 100 in the 100, the first 100 of the 100. There's a joke in there somewhere, and he propelled Birmingham Phoenix to 176 off their 100 balls, which actually might have been a little disappointing given that he hit 101 off 50. Meaning the rest of the team hit 75 off 50, which is a nice, easy bit of maths to do. Liam Livingstone, the exact man you'd want in this situation to come in and blast them to, maybe the first ever 200 in the 100. Didn't really do the business, but it didn't matter because 176 was more than enough for Birmingham Phoenix as Southern Brave star-studded lineup didn't get close. It was not only the 100, but it was a fiver as well for Henry Brookes. All about the milestones this game, and what a way to make your name a name for yourself for Will Smeed.
Yeah, it was good. Cameron, I joked in our Discord that you get an extra bonus. You should get a bonus point if someone in your team gets 100. Yes or no to that rule?
Oh no, absolutely, absolutely not. That's a terrible idea. But yeah, it's nice. I mean, Smeed. I was trying to think about this the other day. A friend of mine just was like, "Why isn't he kind of next cab off the rank at the moment? Like, if you go match up him and Salt in terms of who would you rather have in your kind of T20 side, if you were to go away from Jason Royal for whatever other reason." And I was kind of struggling to kind of come up with a kind of rebuttal because he's had so many quote unquote breakout innings now, and they're quite regular. it just makes me think, oh, he's actually really good. And he's already done it over in the PSL where England played seven T20s before the World Cup. And he's just, I think this is the first of a few times I'm going to say this today on the show. He's just really good. Like, he can just absolutely hammer it. He was saying afterwards, he was like, I didn't really have 100 on my mind. And then he got like 10 off 2 balls towards the end. And he was like, oh, then I thought about it. And he's like, yeah, like, of course it kind of came onto your horizon, especially because he's also had 4 90s before. So there's a world where had he got about 10 more runs in his life, we'd be talking about a 20-year-old with 5 T20 centuries already.
That's the beauty of how pointless milestones are, isn't it?
They are, but I kind of like them for that reason, because they make no sense. It's like feelings and shit. But yeah, I think we're all big fans of Will Smeed, and I think he'll be wearing an England shirt pretty soon.
I wouldn't be stunned if that were the case. How old is he? About 12.
He's 20.
20.
Yeah, that's young, isn't it? 1,400 runs so far in his career. 30 averages 31, strike rate of 146. He's got to be, as you say, he's usurped Banton at least in the list of next people.
I mean, he obviously made the most of the fact that he wasn't picked to play in South Africa's warm-up game, where half of the young stars of the 100 are now currently wasting their time. Do you reckon Will Smeed is, is he above Will Jacks of the 2 Wills in the England race?
In the T20 stuff, I think people really rate Jacks' bowling, like way more than we kind of realise. Gareth Batty said ahead of the season that he was like, this guy could be England's next Moeen Ali. And everyone kind of went, huh? But then they backed that in that they picked him as their spinner. It wasn't that he was playing ahead of Moriarty and Verdi because he could bat as well. They just genuinely thought he was the best spinner. He was batting at 8. And so they kind of had this, well, we can have a really good player down the order of the stick and he can roll some offies out. So I think given Jack's ability with the ball, I imagine he'd probably still be ahead because he can fill in different roles if you're trying to balance the team. But yeah, Will Smeed, he can't, like, I guess this is kind of going back to the eternal kind of point of like England's white ball depth with the bat, basically, in that I've just said 5 minutes ago, I went, he's got to play. And then you've gone, what about Will Jacks? And I've gone, oh yeah, shit. There are other people who are good as well. But yeah, hey, let's sack off both Butler and Roy at the top of the order, 2 of the best players of all time. Just
Will Jacks captain, might as well.
It sounds good to me. Team only of Wills.
So overdue, I say. Birmingham at home with the bat look like they've got a pretty solid game plan, don't they? I think they're going to be quite hard to beat at Edgbaston, and I reckon they'll blitz somebody away from home as well. So after a little bit of a rocky start, I'm hotter on Birmingham Phoenix than the first game. It looked like they'd never take a wicket as well. It helped that Henry Brookes took 5 in this match. Helps if you take 5 in any match, really. That's cricket. Southern Brave wheels fell off a little bit with the ball. Didn't they? Didn't they? The wheels, they fell off.
George Garton's wheels fell off.
Yes. We had a lot. I mean, I was hoping you'd say that because I have notes from George Garton and his long COVID. Yeah. Did you? I don't know if you read the piece, Matt. We were talking about Matt Roller. He was on our show on Wednesday. He wrote a little profile on George Garton. It was basically saying that because of long COVID, every time he played cricket, his heart rate was going over 200 beats per minute.
Wow,
and it was staying up over 100 for hours and hours and hours after the game, which meant he was just in a constant state of fatigue. And it's only in like the last month he's been to see a few cardiologists and they gave him a new training plan, keeping your heart rate below 170. It's only in the last, I think, like month that he's been like relatively back to normal. So he's in pre-season effectively playing at 100, which is pretty tough.
It's a really enjoyable read is the wrong way of describing it. It's a very difficult read, but it's a very good article because you kind of go, oh Jesus, this guy's actually was really, really ill. And I think I was speaking to Matt, I bumped into him yesterday, and he was saying that Garton was saying that he was actually really happy that he'd had the chance to speak about and tell people, because he said it'd just been this kind of weird kind of cloud hanging over him that he would be on the absent list of Sussex team sheet, and it would just say long COVID next to it, and no one really knew what was going on. And then if people listening haven't read it, they really should, because he is just talk about, as Jack said, he would go he'd walk to the ground. He lives 2 minutes from the ground, down in Sussex, and he'd have to sit down for half an hour because he'd be like, I'm cooked, like I can't do anything. And basically, because his heart was just, it was like you were sprinting all the time. So your heart you just never rested. He'd be going to bed at midnight, having done a training session at 5 PM, and his heart rate would still be up at like 150, 170, 200. So he was cooked. And so, yeah, he's got now playing in the 100. He didn't do very well, and that kind of makes sense. He hasn't been able to play any cricket.
He's just happy to be there, I expect.
I mean, like almost exactly what he said. He was like, "I'm not expecting great things from myself in this. I'm just happy that like I can go out and play." Basically,
would you, if you were Southern Brave, would you kind of like? Is there not part of you would be like, look, this is obviously there's the human element, but there's also the team element of like, well, if you can't play, maybe just pick someone else and let you have a net. Like, get back to fitness.
One day cups on, you could play in that.
What a treat. But yeah, I suppose if you're Garton, you want the contract, don't you? You don't want to walk away from it. Like that would be almost I feel like I'm being too harsh. It'd be like an admission to be like, oh no, I'm still not fit, and you want to make sure that you're saying you're ready to go, basically.
Yeah. Well, there's no real way of knowing how ready you are to go unless you try, is there? So maybe we'll see in the next couple of games whether they stick with it. But yeah, it's a tough situation, but nice to see him out there.
Anything else on these two teams? I mean, I for my money, Southern Brave are probably still going to make it through. They've got a 3B win against
for them, is it?
Welsh Fire coming up at some point. Like, there's nothing to be alarmed about there. It's kind of what we expected from, but always what I suppose closer to what I expected from Birmingham than wicket. Anyway, maybe Henry Brookes. He did get 5. But anyone want to say something nice about him?
I thought he bowled quick. I thought it just genuinely looked quick on the TV, and that's not often the case. You'll see someone bowl and it'll be like 86 miles an hour, and you're like, okay. And that time I was like, oh, that was 86 miles an hour. Like he was. I can't remember. He rushed a couple of people. He had someone caught on the square leg fence, and he was also de Kock, where he was just was nowhere. He was like halfway through the pull shot when it hit him. So that's cool. That's exciting. I think there's just people bowling fast at people's faces is kind of fundamentally one of the best things about cricket. So
it was largely England's selection policy for a few years, wasn't it, in the white ball stuff? So
great idea.
Why not?
Great idea.
Yeah, it was good. I'm looking forward to seeing more from him. I spoke a little bit with Dan afterwards, and he thinks one to watch Henry Brookes. Nice. Hot tip from the.
He would say that he picked him.
Yeah, that is true. There's an obvious bias there, but
this guy I picked, he's really good. He's really good.
But there you go. Insight. Max, we're going to move on. But before we do, you're going to tell us about shaving testicles.
Yes, I am. So support for the Cricket Podcast in this episode is brought to you by Manscaped, who are the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. If you weren't aware, Cameron, you are aware now. Manscaped offer precision-engineered tools for your family jewels, and have recently launched the Ultimate Men's Hygiene Model, the Performance Package. We have the Performance Package. I'm very pleased to say we were treated to one of those, and I can say it is pretty good. It's got the key element, which is the lawnmower 4.0, which Jack is modeling beautifully there. Excellent piece of kit for men's grooming to reduce the chance of nicks and scrapes and reduce the chance of ingoing hairs. It's got an LED spotlight for extra precision. It's got the lot. And you also get, along with it, some ball deodorant, which I didn't know was a thing, but it is a thing. And actually, it's pretty good. Not going to lie, quite like it. And along with that, you get some Crop Reviver spray, which I'm still not 100% sure.
Sounds like fertilizer.
It's like a tone. Like people have toner that they spray on their face. It's like that, but for your balls. Yeah. It's nice. It's refreshing. It's good. Yeah. I don't know what the point of it is, but I like it. That's the sort of theme here. And you get a bag, you get a nose trimmer, an ear trimmer. Maybe not for someone as young as you, Cameron. Probably don't need to worry about nose and ear hair yet. But
yeah, I'll take that.
but, you know,
not long.
But you get that too, and it all comes with some lovely boxes and a travel bag. So if you that's a cafetiere. That's not part of the package.
I was excited for that to be part of the Jack's coffee.
Jack's coffee.
You get Jack as a barista.
Jack coffee not included.
The thing you need to remember, Max, you've done a very good job there. The thing you need to remember if you're listening at home or you're watching, Cricket Pod is the code. That's what you need to remember.
Yes.
But also you need to remember to go to the website. You can't just sort of go around the street shouting that. I mean, you could. You'd be weird.
Actually do that, yeah.
Manscaped.com. This is the call to action. This is the important bit. Manscaped.com. Use the code CricketPod for 20% off plus worldwide shipping. You guys saw Cameron writing that down.
I was actually
making a
do
purchase.
you know, I wasn't sure I actually bought this like 2 days ago. Yeah.
Did you use the code?
Yes, I actually used the code from a rival cricket podcast. Now I feel
for
really
fuck's
embarrassed.
sake.
I didn't know. If I just waited 2 days, I'd have used your one.
2 days. Is it still time to cancel it and
I'll go back and
reorder?
cancel it.
Yeah.
It was 20% as
Yeah.
well. I was actually really interested to know if it was the same discount. And it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. For
Mm.
Christ's sake, Cameron.
You've dropped the ball big time there.
We've got fucking
There we go.
targets.
Yeah.
I'm
If
sorry.
we miss, if we miss by one, we know who we're coming to.
Here's who else had a target. Oval Invincibles.
Very good segue. Well done.
Max, what happened in the men's game?
In the men's game, there we go. You've answered my question there. What happened? Well, Will Smeed has just hit 100, and there's another man who probably had as good a chance as anyone to almost immediately follow that, and his name's Adam Lithe. He scored 50 off 17 balls, which gave him plenty more to try and reach the wonderful milestone of 100. Sadly for him, he didn't quite make it, but he did end up with 79 off 33. On what you said, Jack, wasn't actually that great a pitch. The ball wasn't particularly coming onto the bat with the pace off. And that kind of showed with the comeback from Oval Invincibles. Narayan in particular managing to drag things back, as always. 3 for 11 off 20 balls. That is a stifling performance. And it kept the Superchargers down to a manageable total of 157 in the end. And, well, what a chase it was. It all looked over with Jason Roy going second ball. Poor old Jason. Every time I see his face, I want to give him a hug, but I know he wouldn't want a hug. It's a weird thing. With Riley Rooster departing off the 20th ball, it was 21 for 3, and there was a lot to be done. But Jordan Cox added some impetus to the innings, and Sam Curran, the batter who bowls a bit, took the Oval Invincibles to within touching distance before he was bowled by DJ Bravo, who got his 600th T20 wicket in the 100, which is a curiosity of stats for you. And it looked a bit dicey towards the end, but Sam Curran's brother came in, bashed a couple of
Curran. You're covered on both angles there.
Came in, bashed a couple of sixes, got dropped twice, and was perhaps the benefit of a slightly tough wide call. And in the end, they won with 3 balls to spare, but not without missed chances on the side of the Northern Superchargers, I would say.
I think they missed out one on getting a big score. I mean, what did Lithe get? 79 off 33 balls.
Yeah,
that's a lot of balls for everyone else to do something, and nobody did.
He scored. He scored basically half their runs in a third of the balls they had available.
Yeah, Lithe is another one. I mean, he's not the Smeed Jack generation, but a very talented white ball top order batter, like just born in the wrong generation, basically.
Yeah.
Nearly hit 5 sixes in an over or a 5 or whatever it is.
I really wanted them. If all 5 of top leagues had gone for 6, I really wanted Jason Roy just to keep him on, just to see if it could be 10. Just be like, let's just find out what's the most runs.
That's captaincy for you.
Like, let's see if we can go for 60.
Yeah, he looked so good live from like straight away. Just looked, he was hitting it so hard. It was.
He's a quality player.
Yeah,
like you said, and very unlucky that Josh Butler and Johnny Bairstow exist.
It was a pretty central wicket as well. So like the sixes and that he were hitting, they were big boy sixes. It was proper batting.
Mm.
And he hit them over like backward point. It was like Surya Kumar Yadav, but like bald and left-handed. From Yorkshire.
There was one shot. There was like a combo he did against Topley where he like kind of sliced him, but he obviously didn't slice him because the ball went so far over the offside boundary. And I was like, I don't really understand how that ball's travelled that far because it didn't really sound like that powerful off the bat. So he's obviously just timed it. And then he just combined that with like the brute force of just peppering the stand on the other side. And he was on about like, I don't know, 8 off 8 or some nonsense. And then all of a sudden he was on 1,000,000 off 12. And you're like, oh, that's okay. Like the game's changed
started,
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, those shots over the offside, you could tell sort of like how outrageous they were. Because when you're in the press box, one of the things, like when we hadn't done it before, but one of the things that you learn quite quickly is that nobody really appreciates anything that happens on the game. Everyone is silent and they're at work. But when he hit the six over like backward point, the kind of like drive slice six, people did go whoa. There was like there was a noise. People were like they liked it.
No.
Then the Rhine happened. 20 balls, 11 for 3. I mean, that's almost as good.
That's
on
disgusting.
The there, isn't
Yeah.
He was. I think he had a little bit of a helpful pitch for his type of bowling. Like I think some were holding up at that in that length that he bowls, and some were like sliding through. And I think it was he got David Visa first ball with a ball that like he wouldn't have hit with a tennis racket. But best in the world, I think. I'm going to say that now. I think best T20 bowler in the world, Sunil Narine.
That's a statement. That is a statement. Yeah. He has. I mean, it wasn't long ago, was it, that we were saying that Narine sort of was on the decline, and certainly the batting side anyway. We thought maybe he'd be using as a pinch hitter, and it wasn't really coming off. And you're like, what do you get out of Sunil Narine? But he is just genuinely like I've not seen, because he had played for Surrey as well, so in the Blast. So I had the pleasure of watching him bowl a number of times this summer. Obviously, we followed him throughout the IPL as well. I genuinely don't remember any occasion in which a batter has got the better of him over the course of like his spell, or even like 2 overs. He's gone for a couple of boundaries, maybe in an over at most. But he's just been unbelievably consistently unhittable.
There was a stupid stat about him earlier in the year. I'm half making up these numbers, but the essence of it is that over like in his first like 5 games, he'd gone for 4 boundaries or something, and one of them was just overthrows. And it was just kind of like, oh, like no one. They kind of, I think the Oval actually spoke about this in terms of Rashid as well. They just kind of go, we're going to take Adil Rashid for 20 to 25 runs, and we're just going to score runs from the other end. And so the idea is just to get through that and hopefully not lose 3 for 11. But that is the kind of upside of Narine, is that basically he's respected, and people go, right, let's try and take this guy for a runner ball, and then we'll just score runs against other people, basically.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that actually, because that was what Jordan Cox said that after the game. He was like, our plan against Adil Rashid wasn't to take him down. Adil Rashid went for they were his worst figures in the 100, 33 for 1 off his 20 balls. I don't really know why that happened.
Lots of 2s into the leg side.
I think he bowled a little bit short. Yeah, it was quite a big ground, but it just didn't sort of happen for Adil Rashid, and then the game sort of slipped away from them. I think the Superchargers as well. They do miss David Willey in this bowling attack, not necessarily to like bowl at the death or anything like that, but if he isn't there, David Visa has to bowl 20 balls, and that is
they could have used
too many balls.
They could have used Roelof van der Merwe, which they didn't, which was quite surprising, especially given how well Narine went. So, I mean, that would have at least taken a little. Van der
Merwe.
Well, no, obviously, they're not the same player, but it's finger spin. It's a pitch that you said was suiting them. Obviously, Adil Rashid didn't go that well. Maybe that was what was featuring into their thoughts. But they've ended up having to use basically the minimum number of bowlers available, and that has ended up with David Visa bowling 20 balls. And you just think maybe like 5 from Van der Merwe in the middle somewhere, just to try and take the pace off, would have made a difference. I was surprised they didn't use him, because I mean he's useful.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it is a little bit of surprise. He does give his all to everything, Van der Merwe, doesn't he? Did you see
Maybe
him
they were saving him for the fielding. That catch.
stop the catch was great, but like the over before that, he stopped a 4 with his face, like diving forward. You know that they always say, "Oh, the catches diving forward, they're the hardest because you might get the ball to your face," and he literally did. He just fucking took it on his cheek.
Yeah,
Mate,
literally took it on the chin.
A mate of mine said yesterday that he doesn't like Van der Merwe, basically on the premise that he always feels like he's playing as if he was trying to impress a girl on the boundary. And he's like, "All right, mate, come on."
Right, you say that. I was watching the game, and Lizzie, my partner, just walked in like just after he'd taken that diving catch, that long, like one-handed diving catch, and I was like, "You got to watch this catch. It's really good." And she said she watched it. It was like, he looks really smug.
I thought it was going to work. I thought Lizzie was going to be like,
"Wow, that
cool."
cat." Yeah, no. No, she was having none of it.
Can you get an interview with him? Get him on the show. Yes, they won the Oval. The other thing that we didn't really talk about is the number of dropped catches. Northern Supercharges. What do you do? Commit? Do you commit a drop catch? I don't know. It's bad. What's the verb?
Yeah, because you've not done anything. You haven't
Well, I suppose
completed anything, have you?
Yeah.
Famously.
That's it. Lots of drops. Adam Lithe off Sam Curran at long off or long on. No, it was long off. Yeah, left-hander. That was really poor, and that maybe would have changed the game.
The next ball went for 6 as well.
Curran hit the next one for 6, and then I think he hit one more boundary as well. So even and they ran 2 for the drop. So even if we assumed that the next guy coming in actually bats okay, would have been his brother, I think. Like gets 8. Say Tom Curran comes in and gets 18 off 7, just as he did in the match. He's probably not going to hit the next ball for 6. So that's some runs in the back.
It was somewhat summed up
for the catch.
Somewhat summed up by the winning runs being hit off a drop catch, and it was Faf as well, wasn't it? He dropped it.
Yeah,
you back him almost 99 times out of 100. It was uncharacteristic.
Yeah. Oh well, you live and learn, don't you? I quite like the Northern Superchargers. I hope that they stage a comeback. They're like the everyman team for me, I think. Ben Ray,
they're from the north.
Well, they do. I mean, like, they do have a certain northern charm to them, don't they? Like Ben Rain,
Northern Supercharmers,
Adam Lithe, David Willey, even Visa. All of these guys, they're like, you can kind of imagine them being quite a good player in your first team at club level. They're not. It feels like an attainable level of brilliance that they have.
Like
all very good players.
600 T20 wickets.
Very they feel normal. They feel normal to me in a way that like Joss Butler doesn't feel normal.
Sunil Narayan feels normal if you look at the Oval side. Like everyone's played with a guy who refuses to field something anywhere.
Oh, he dropped a hilarious catch. Like literally just went straight to him. I don't even think he put his hands out to try and get it. just let it fall on the floor. Right. The final piece on the agenda there, because Cameron's got to drive down to Southampton, is the women's game in the evening. Lots of people were saying before the tournament that this is the real 100, which I think is a hot take from a very specific type of middle-aged man. But it is good. It was definitely something that was enjoyable last year, and there was a pretty good atmosphere for last night's game. Max, do you want to, in 30 seconds, summarise who won?
Yeah, so obviously getting underway slightly belatedly after the Commonwealth Games, and Northern Supercharges batting first. Quite a nice opening partnership if you look at the names. Alyssa Healy and Jemima Rodrigues, pretty tasty, and they punched Superchargers to thus far a record total in the women's 100 with Laura Wolfart at the back end, propelling them to 143. And Oval Invincibles were like, hold my beer, basically. Lauren Winfield Hill absolutely smashing the shit out of it before Alice Capsey finished it with four fours in a row after going off the field, being slightly injured and coming back on. So, she's quite good, isn't she, Alice Capsey?
Yeah, that was a really good game, actually. I should mention that
they did it with 16 balls to spare.
Well, yeah, winning by 9 wickets for 16 balls to spare. That probably doesn't really do justice to how good the the batting from Oval was.
Mm.
It was pretty devastating. I think we said before the tournament, didn't we, that Northern Supercharges they've really gone all out on their top three, which turned out not to be their top three. It turned out to be 1, 2, and 5. But like they've just sort of not got any bowling, and that was a little bit clear. I think. Cameron, what did you make of things?
Yeah, I thought Oval did it so kind of. I didn't find it very dramatic until Capsy at the end. It was just happening. They were just getting the runs with very kind of undramatically. That being said, Susie Bates played this shot, which I loved. And she basically like the spinners dropped short and drifting down leg side. And she kind of almost like rotated 90 degrees and then just hammered it behind square. Like normally people hit the ball behind square, like they kind of swivel. And she kind of waited for it to pass her and then just whammed it for 6. But I had a moment where I looked up and I went, "Oh my God, they haven't lost a wicket." They needed something like 75 or 80 off the last 50. And I went, "This is pretty like well placed actually." And then I scanned across. I went, "Oh, they're none down. Oh, okay, no, it's like it's done." Winfield Hill has like it's such an impressive card from Oval basically, and as you said, I think they just look like a very good team when you think that they've got Ishmael bowling quite close to 80 miles an hour with the ball, and they have the batting lineup to back it up. I don't know if this is hot take, but my kind of theory, working hypothesis about like the women's game at the moment is people like Alice Capsey. I'm hoping that they are going to become like the rule rather than the exception to the game. And I think the women's game could become very, very good, very, very quickly and very, very young. When you just have players like Capsey and Kemp, and you have this generation of players who have grown up in a professional era, basically. And all of a sudden, you have these young guns coming through who just overtake the people ahead of them. And I feel like we could have someone like Capsey come through every year, basically, for the next 5, 6 years. I think that's so exciting because, mate, she's a gun. She took the piss last night. She didn't have to do what she did. She was like, I just want to win the game now. She was like, this could be funny. Like, why don't I just try doing this? And she was just reverse sweeping people, hammering them for 6 straight, all after being injured and also bowling 5 balls, 1 for 6. Like she's 18 years old and she is in a team with Lauren Winfield Hill and Susie Bates, Danny Van Neerkerk, and she's quite possibly, and Ishmael, and she's quite possibly the best player in the team. Like she's so good. And I mean, 1 game in, let's just go all in. They're winning it again, back to back. It's happening.
That's what we said, wasn't it? We had them down.
They've got a very good chance. I thought that having full allocations, what is it? Full allotments, for the right number, the full number of overseas players. I think that's what I'm getting to. Did improve the game quite significantly as well. Ishmael 78 miles an hour. So she's got to be, is it between her and Wong for the first 80 mile an hour ball from a woman?
That'd be cool. I'll be so tempted if I was in that truck behind the scenes. I'll be so tempted just to hit the button, just be like 81.
Just be like, I don't think that's how it works. I don't think it's just like, what do you reckon that was, Cameron?
I think that's how it works. I love that idea. I've heard a joke apparently that I was talking to a lad who does the stuff down in New Zealand, and he say that Australia have a plus 5k button. Basically, he just says everyone's quicker in Australia. They come to here, they bowl 5 kilometers an hour slower. Makes me
maybe.
laugh.
I mean,
I would buy that 100%. Buy that from the Aussies.
I'll do that.
It's good. It's mind games. I like it.
Plus 5. Done.
I'm pretty sure we were using that at Lords when Jofra Archer was bowling for a little while.
Half that, yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, it was good. In terms of anything else that we need to discuss, lots of people ask us about the crowds whenever we go. Do you want to know about the crowd, Max?
Yeah, why not? Tell me about the crowd. Were there people there and were they enjoying cricket?
There were people there. I reckon it was about 2/3 full at the start of the men's game, and then it kind of peaked. It was like towards the end of the men's game, full, and then about 2/3 full in the second half. So
right.
People with different tastes there.
I mean, what do you think about the having the men's game first? Do you think it works?
Well, I was going to say, I think there was a noticeably different profile of person there to last week's game, which was a little bit more it wasn't like exclusively lads in suits, but there were more lads in suits at the game last week than there were.
Yeah, obviously
yesterday,
prime
which
Thursday
was-
night post work slot,
which was
very
a little bit
Blastian.
more family oriented. A few other things. Did you know Laura Wolfart makes music?
Her and
Cameron
Jemima
did.
Rodriguez did that. Yeah, this was a thing last year where Rodriguez and Wolfart did like some duets together. It was nice. It was cool.
No, I didn't pick up on that, but like I'll have to go and research that. I was near like some dads with their kids, and I reckon the dads drank 7 pints. Like,
7?
Really, yeah. It was 3 dads, 3 kids.
Nice.
They were like nominally in charge, but they were like, I don't even know if the kids really knew each other. The dads definitely did. They were
At
like,
the end, they did. Yeah.
we were at the cricket, and the kids were sort of like
They were
"What's
huddling
going
for
on?"
dear life.
Like, it's
Oh, we make it home.
it was fun, right? I think we're more or less at the end. We should probably actually, you know what? I always think that we should do this, and then we never do. Look ahead to the weekend's fixtures. So Southern Brave v London Spirit today, Max. Call those games.
Yeah, interesting. So obviously London Spirit are doing a hell of a lot better than we thought they were going to, and Southern Brave will be, well, looking to. Is it double header?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be 1-1.
1-1.
I think London Spirit are going to win the men's game again. I think they're going to carry on their role of mentally winning things that they shouldn't, and the Southern Brave women will steamroll the Spirit.
Yeah, there's lots of people are quite hot on the Southern Brave women, aren't they? They do, to be fair, have a pretty good team.
A lot of Aussies.
Lauren Bell, Sophia Dunkley, Smriti Mandana, Talia McGrath. That's Anya Shrubsole. It's pretty good. It is pretty good. I have London Spirit as like the outsider because I think their bowling attack's really good. So maybe they'll do something there. I don't know. And then like the men, I feel like the men are on a roll. I don't really believe in momentum in cricket, but
but you're doing 100.
I don't know. I feel like there's something about the London Spirit men's team. Cameron, Sunday's action
It's stretching me. Yeah.
Is between the Manchester Originals and the Trent Rockets.
Yeah.
Who's going to win those 2 games?
I still mentally blend the Trent Rockets and Birmingham Phoenix together. They're both in yellow, so they both kind of.
They're not both in yellow.
They are both in yellow. Trent.
One's quite clearly in orange.
No, that's a hue. That's a yellow hue. That Manchester Originals. They're having a stinker at the moment, aren't they? So I'll go Trent Rockets.
I mean, they were horrendous against Spirit. Yeah.
I'll go on that basis. I'm going to go Rockets 2-0. Joe Root and the lads to do it for the men.
And we quite liked, didn't we, Max, the Trent Rockets women? Although you erroneously
we got very confused, didn't we, with our preview, but we settled in the end that the Trent Rockets were actually quite good.
We had them as the second best team in the women's tournament, so expect great things from them as things progress. It's pretty high pressure on the women's side because you only have 6 matches. Like if you lose your first one, you're in real trouble. Basically have to win 4 of your next 5. Right, we're gonna call it there. Everyone, goodbye, Cameron. Do you want to say where people can find you on the internet?
At Cameron Ponsonby is my Twitter. That's probably the best bet.
Cool.
Thanks as always, guys.
Thanks for coming.
And we're at the Cricket Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And we're on TikTok. We've got 7 followers now.
No,
we added 3 overnight. I don't really know how TikTok works. Like lots of people seem to be watching the videos. I don't know why. I don't know how it's getting in front of them. Every time I open the app, like somebody's shouting at me about something. It's not really my vibe, but
But people should use it for the Cricket Pod.
Yeah, we're trying to. I'm trying to make it my vibe. I just wish that like the videos didn't automatically play. It's just a very loud environment.
Right,
that's it.
We're so old.
Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.